All right, so peace and blessings, and thank you for tuning in. I'm going to talk to you about the WMSCOG, which stands for the World Mission Society Church of God. And the reason I'm going to talk to you about it is because I used to be a member. Now, it has been several years ago since I left. All praise to the Most High, right? But I want to share this with you because there may be some of you who are still struggling with the mind control of this so-called church. Or they may approach you at a college campus because they love to prey on young adults who are studying and have an open mind to learn new things. And they also know that the Christian church, right, doesn't teach anything. And so it's easy to fool people. So you Christians may not like to hear that, but you don't teach anything. So if you're wondering why people will fall for cults like the one I'm going to expose to you now, it's because you got people celebrating Christmas and Valentine's and Easter and everything else that God never said to keep, and you think that the law of Moses is a complete garbage when really you have to learn about the law of Moses to even understand the law of Christ in the New Testament. But nonetheless, let's read this article here from People magazine. All right. It says former members allege New Jersey church, South Korea based World Mission Society Church of God is actually a cult. All right. So, first of all, this church is not just in New Jersey, right? They're big in New York, but they're in California, they're in Tennessee, they're in Texas. They're all over the United States. They're obviously in Korea. They're in Africa. They're in different parts of the world. But don't think that just because an organization spreads all across the world that means it's truthful, that means it's righteous, right? So let's keep going. Now here it says former members claim they were told the world would end in 2012. I'm telling you matter of factly, 100% that is what this church taught. Oh, they don't teach it now because it's 2023, which means obviously it is a lie, right? At best, they were just incorrect and made a mistake. But at worst, it is a lie. Well, the reason they don't want to admit that they made a mistake, so that means they're outright lying now, is because they teach that they have God the Father and Mother in the flesh. You heard that right. They teach that they have God the Father and Mother in the flesh. So their church has the perfect truth. So when their end of the world prophecies fail, then they can't admit it because then they'll have to admit that they lied about having the perfect truth of God. So I'm telling you matter of factly that I was taught by a Korean missionary and a Negro who was a deacon there. And I had conversations with another Caucasian brother there who is now a deacon, if not a missionary by now. They all talked to me about and or taught me that the world could not go past 2012. You see, because I knew about the scripture where it says no man knows the day nor the hour. And their response to that was, we don't know the day or the hour, but we do know about the time or the season because they said they had God in the flesh. You see that? So they told me that the world could not go past the year 2012. And they were hinting at this, in 2008 and 2009, but they told me explicitly in January of 2010, right? Because there's a 3.5 year prophecy that goes along with it. So let's read some more, right? It says, so I'm going to zoom in here. And by the way, they claim to have like 3 million members now. That number might be somewhat inflated because a lot of people have left the church, right? So they might be including me and everybody else who used to go. But don't think that you can't be deceived by this church, especially if all you've ever done is go to the Christian church or you haven't really studied the Bible at all, right? You can and will be deceived by them if you're not careful. Uh, for 2 years, Michelle Colon, or Cologne, however they pronounce her name, believed with complete conviction that the end of the world was imminent, right? Because that is what they taught. And that an elderly lady from South Korea was God. I kid you not. That is what they teach. They teach God the Mother is here in the flesh. All right? For those same 2 years, colon, a nurse attended services at the World Mission Society Church of God in the New Jersey suburb of Ridgewood. Colon tells People, meaning this People magazine, she defected from the World Mission Society Church of God more than 4 years ago. She says she did so because she believed she had been brainwashed, or what I prefer to call mind control, into what she alleges is a doomsday cult. I want to show you the date of this article. So this article was published December 10th, 2015, right? And I'm trying to think. I don't know exactly what year she left, but you can get the idea. So this article is not new. It's been up here since 2015. All right. So let's find where I was at. Yeah. Colon further claims in a civil suit she filed against the 50-year-old World Mission Society Church of God, a copy of which was obtained by People, that the group is a, quote, profit-making, end quote, cult that uses, quote, a number of psychological control tactics to prevent its members from exposing its criminal and tortious behavior, end quote. And that is a fact. They mind control people so they can get tithing and various types of offerings, plus free volunteer work and labor and door-to-door preaching, right, to recruit more members so they can get some more money, right? And it just goes on and on. And I'm gonna also tell you that they give you books, right? Sermon books and study books, right? Which is nothing wrong with giving people books, but they change the books every few months or years, depending on what's necessary. So I'm sure that the information in the books they have now is different than it was years ago, right? Because had I seen the original books they had from the 1980s, uh, I would have left the church within a few weeks or certainly months and never gone back, right? So I'm telling you that these people hide and control information. They will write something in a book 10 years ago, then you see it now today, the book says something totally different. And they're good at information control. They don't even want members to exchange phone numbers at first until you've been thoroughly mind controlled or brainwashed, quote unquote, because they don't want you to be able to easily communicate with each other if and when you find out about their lies. All right, let's continue. In its motion to dismiss Colon's complaint, the church called her allegations entirely fabricated. All right, so I don't know everything that she alleged, but as far as the 2012 lie, oh, she's telling the truth. They did teach it, they did teach it, they did teach it. And I know other people personally in different states, right, who some of them I had never met in person. And I listened to their story and it was exactly the same as mine. How can people from different cities and states who have never met tell about a lie that was told to them and everybody has the exact same story? That's because it's the truth. So the people at this church are liars. It was not fabricated. The motion states that Colon's claim is part of a larger effort by her to, quote, position herself as a veteran of the cult war and build a career as cult expert to the detriment of the World Mission Society Church of God's reputation. That is a lie. But interviews conducted with look at that, 6 other former World Mission Society Church of God members including a former member of 12 years, right? And I know who that missionary is. His name was Missionary Ron Ramos. He was there from 1999 to 2011. Echo Collins claims all 7 former members tell People, as in People magazine, the religious faction isolates its acolytes from their families and friends by controlling information and using brainwashing techniques. So consider this a public service announcement, right? So now you'll see why I'm so passionate about the scriptures, right? Because I know if you don't study, you can and will be manipulated, right? So I wouldn't tell anybody they have to believe everything I say, but you do have to study. And if you can't show me the book, chapter, and verse where it says it, you're going to have to show me something in history or something that makes sense. Otherwise, I'm not going to believe you, right? You don't have to listen to me to go to heaven, but I hope something I says to you can help you get there, right? And if you don't believe anything about the Bible at all, well, that's between you and your Creator. All right. It says, fear and guilt. That is what fuels this cult, and that's the truth. Colin tells People, they fill you with this fear that the world is going to end at any moment, and you feel guilty for not doing enough good before the end comes. That is exactly what they did. Convinced people to drop out of medical school. There were literally quote unquote African Americans who were in medical school who dropped out of medical school to do the so-called gospel work for this church. Now that's terrible, right? As people love to say, quote unquote black people or the African American people, we need to work hard or study hard or whatever. Well, you weren't there to rescue them to keep them in medical school, were you? So when people say there's systemic racism still in this country, you forgot about religion. The Christian church, including the one I'm exposing to you now, right, is racist and detrimental to so-called Negroes because it wastes their time, energy, effort, labor, and money, guilt tripping them into doing things so they can make it to heaven while they're actually just putting themselves through hell on this earth for no reason. Telling them that it's good to be poor, right? Or like the money is evil when the Bible doesn't say that, right? You're supposed to try to create wealth for yourself and your family. So, man, it's sad. But anyway, better late than never to find out about this crap. All right. In a prepared statement, the World Mission Society Church of God dismissed all cult characterizations as religious intolerance. Nope. Nope. Religious intolerance is when you just don't like somebody's belief. When a church lies to you about the end of the world, and then you find out they lied in 1988 and also 1999, but you wouldn't know that if you didn't have the older books where they changed at least 3 chapters of the book. See? The books that we had didn't show those failed prophecies. So they've prophesied the end of the world at least 3 times. But I was there when they prophesied falsely about the 2012, so I can tell you that firsthand. And I've seen a video with Korean subtitles and video proof that they did prophesy that the world would end in 1999 as well. And now they lie and say that they didn't do either, right? So there are literally millions of people around the world being deceived by this church right now. And as fast as people leave the church and drop out, they're always recruiting at apartment complexes or shopping malls and shopping centers, college campuses. They love to do that. And they'll come up to you and saying they're a Bible student and they just want to invite you to a Bible study. No, they don't. They want to invite you to the church and get you to be baptized very quickly before you even have a chance to know what you're really getting baptized into a lot of times, right? Or they will say they're from Elohim Academy when they're really from the WMSCOG. They come up with all kind of stuff. They try to blend into the crowd instead of just putting up a booth or a sign and letting you know that they're there to teach the Bible. They try to be slick on the college campuses and sneak up on people undetected and pretend to be a regular student or a young teacher or something. It's crazy, right? You don't have to sneak to teach the Bible. Just let the people know what you're there to do and be open and honest, right? But if they're open and honest about who and what they are, a lot of people won't give them the time of day. So they have to pretend to be just a regular biblical student or a theological seminary student or something by a different name, right? They'll say they're from the We Love You Foundation or the Elohim Academy, or they're a Bible student, or they want to invite you to a Bible study. All of that is a lie. They only talk to you because they want to quickly baptize you as quick as possible so that they can start to brainwash or mind control you and then make you feel guilty if you don't start dedicating each and every bit of your life to them, including the tithes and offerings, right? That's what they're about. The World Mission Society Church of God, which does not recognize Christmas or Easter. And see, they got that right. So this is how they get you. Because the Christian church is wrong for teaching people to celebrate Christmas and Easter. That is idolatry, is pagan, right? But just because they get some stuff right doesn't mean they're not liars about the end of the world. They prophesied falsely. So the scripture tells you that means that's a false prophet. You can't listen to a false prophet and go to heaven. Claims membership in more than 175 countries, right? And over 150,000 worshipers within the United States alone. The Bible also says that in the last days, many false Christs would appear and would deceive many. So I don't care if a church has a lot of members. If you're lying, you're still a liar. All right? The church's prepared statement says that the characterization of it as a cult in colon suit stems from reaction to its non-mainstream beliefs. No, it doesn't. Because I still believe in the Sabbath. I still don't believe in Christmas and Easter. So it's not their non-mainstream beliefs. Nobody's saying you're a cult because you keep the Sabbath or you believe in keeping worship a certain type of way. But when you say you have God the Father and the Mother in the flesh, and you prophesy the end of the world falsely 3 times, and you lie and say that you never taught that, when we know that you taught it, that's why we won't tolerate you, because you are lying. That's why. All right. So let me see. I think I've read enough of this article for you to get the point. Here we go. I want to scroll just to some main points. It says they don't tell you what they are all about up front, because if they did, no one would join them. Understand that. That is a fact. The World Mission Society Church of God is led by Mother God, a gentle-looking doyen in her mid-70s. So by now she's probably in her early 80s, early to mid-80s. Who's also known as Zhang Gilja, Zong Gilja, Chung Gilja, Heavenly Mother, God the Mother, New Jerusalem Mother, and Mother Jerusalem. And all of those names and titles is correct. They all apply, all right? But mainly Jerusalem Mother and Heavenly Mother, right? That's what they call her. Colin says it isn't until you're already committed to the faith that you're told of Mother God's existence. And that's true. Or if they tell you she exists, they don't tell you that she's here in the flesh until after you've been baptized. See? And then you feel like, since you've already been baptized into it, now you should go ahead and listen, and you just get more and more mind controlled with it. Right? More and more brainwashed. So, if they tell you up front that they're saying a woman is here in the flesh and they believe she's God, right? How many people are going to really listen to that? They don't tell you what they are all about up front, because if they did, no one would join them. Colin tells people. It'd be fine if they said, there's this lady we believe is God, and we'll convince you to give up your family and your money and your hobbies. If you still want to join after that, good for you. At least you're making an informed decision. Facts. Instead, she says, you're spoon-fed information when they feel you're ready to hear it. If you ask questions, they just tell you to, quote, study more, and that all of your questions will be answered if you keep studying. They dangle a carrot in front of you. So this is why so-called Negroes need to know that they the children of Israel. And yes, people try to call the Israelites a cult, but you got us messed up. You understand? It's never a cult to know your history and heritage, right? Because I know we're the Moors. I know many of us are the Israelites. And you can prove we're the Moors in the dictionary. And then you can go further from there to prove that many of the Moors were also known in times past as Jews. And that is a fact, right? Whether you believe the Bible or not. So it's a wrap. Once you know who you are, so-called Negroes and African Americans, but I'm warning everybody with this because they deceive Caucasians at this church. They deceive so-called Negroes. They deceive other Koreans, right? Although a lot of the Koreans are the ones doing the deceiving, I believe now. So I think a lot of them know what's going on. But they're deceiving some of them as well. They will deceive Africans. You understand? So they don't discriminate. They will take tithes and offering. They will take money and time and destroy the families of people regardless of their ethnicity. Understand that. So this is a public service announcement to any living soul to keep you from falling for this cult. But if you decide you still want to join it, when you find out 5 years later or 10 years later or even 15 years later that what I'm telling you in this video is right, then at least you'll know it was your choice and therefore your fault and responsibility that you stayed there all that time. So you better take heed. I know some of you might ask, how can somebody join an organization like this? Well, there's millions of people around the earth that have done it. And this is not the only cult or brainwashing or mind control organization that has done that to people. It's other groups that fool people. Think about Jim Jones years ago, right? That was before my time, but shoot, like 900 people drunk the Kool-Aid and killed themselves because they're trying to go to heaven. Who would join that? Who the hell would do that, right? So I'm telling you, you've been warned. The church's prepared response claims the biggest difference between our church and other churches is that we believe in God the Mother as well as God the Father. Again, there are other religions that believe there's a God the Mother as well, like the Mormon church. See, a lot of people might not know that. If they simply believe that there is a God the Mother, okay, you can believe that. But when you tell me she's here in the flesh, and then that she and or the Father or your church's general pastor or whatever are telling me the world is going to end by a certain year, and then it doesn't happen, and then you lie to me and say it's my fault because I was focused on the time when I never even thought about the year 2012 until I joined your so-called church. That's the problem. So whether you believe in God the Father or God the Mother or both of them, the lies is the problem, because God is not a man that he should lie. Facts. That's what the scriptures say. According to the prophecies of the Bible, God the Mother is to appear in the last age of redemption. Yeah, well, they told me that too, and they showed me scriptures to make me believe that at the time. But now, no. Those scriptures do not say that God the Mother is to appear at the last age of redemption. It doesn't say that. It talks about Jerusalem that is above is free, which is our mother, which stands for the new covenant. And Sarah, the slave woman, represents the old covenant. Abraham's first wife, Hagar, Abraham's first wife, or not first wife, the mother of Ishmael, right? Because Abraham wanted a son. So he had Ishmael by Hagar. She was the slave woman. Sarah was his wife, the free woman. So Hagar represents the Old Covenant or Old Testament. Sarah represents the New Covenant or New Testament. And the Jerusalem which is above, heavenly Jerusalem, is free, meaning a place. You understand? She is our mother. It's like motherland is what it's talking about. Let's see, Giljar also serves as chairwoman for the We Love You Foundation. See? So sometimes they'll say they're from that foundation so they can try to preach to you or brainwash you, and you'll think it's just a Bible class when they're really trying to force you to join their church. They'll say, well, you don't have to join our church, just listen to the truth. Yeah, that's a lie also. I'm telling you, they're not talking to you unless they want to baptize you and then start taking all of your free time and then taking your money as well. And then alienating you from your friends and family, make you feel guilty for wanting to get an education, make you feel like you're worldly, like you're too worldly for trying to succeed in this world. It's basically dumb as hell, right? But that's very similar to some Christian churches, which also take your money and waste your time. So that's why people fall for it. They jump from the pot into the frying pan. Know thyself is what I'm going to tell you, especially you so-called Negroes. Stop thinking that you just black and Negroes and African American and realize that you're the Moors, M-O-O-R-S, and that's with a capital M. And Moor does not just mean black because it means land, right? It's also a verb which means to anchor a ship. And it also ties you to your history and heritage, which goes all the way back to 711 AD as an empire. And you are also known as Jews in history. Facts. Which means you could very well be the descendants of the children of Israel. I'm saying that because not every single black person is an Israelite, right? But if you're a so-called Negro, it is quite likely that you are. All right. Let's see. Founded in 1964 as the Witnesses of Jesus Church of God, the World Mission Society Church of God was the brainchild of a man named Unsung Hong. They taught us that he was second coming Christ. All right, let's keep going. Who is believed to be Mother God's late husband. I don't think that part is true. They claim they had a spiritual marriage. I know that sounds strange, but that's what they said. Former members say they were told Unsung Hong, who died in 1985, was the second coming of Christ. And together, Unsung Hong and Jeong-Il Ja are jointly known as Elohim God. Yeah, because they claim Elohim is plural, right? Upon accomplishing his mission to restore the gospel of the new covenant, Unsung Hong ascended to heaven. They say he ascended to heaven, but actually he died and is buried in a tomb. He did not rise up like Christ did 2,000 years ago. So they are deceptive when they say he ascended to heaven, even though they show you proof that he's in the grave. So that's the mind control. They say he ascended to heaven even though his body is in the ground. When the Bible says Christ 2,000 years ago ascended to heaven, that's because his body literally came out of the grave and he literally ascended up into heaven. Not that his body stayed in the grave and you just can imagine his spirit going up. That's not how it works. So that is deception. They use words like ascended even though his body is in the grave. So that means if you have loved ones who have died, you can say that they ascended to heaven, even though they're still buried in the cemetery right now. See what I'm saying? That is the mind control and brainwashing. And when you hear this stuff every Sabbath day, then they have you coming back to do extra studies on Sunday and go door to door preaching on Sunday. Then you come Tuesday night. Then they have you there on Thursday, indoctrinating you more and more. Then it begins to take over your whole life. That's what happens. And it's very hard to be successful in this world physically when your mind is so controlled and scrambled by excessive and fanatical religion, right? It says, ever since our New Jerusalem mother has been leading the gospel work of the Church of God to deliver the word of God from Zion to the world, just as was prophesied in the Bible. Yeah, and Apostle Paul says that a woman is not supposed to lead the church. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 11 through 14. Let the women keep silent. It means they don't need to have authority over the man. That's what it means. She's not supposed to be the pastor, the bishop, or the apostle. I don't know how we let that one slide. Oh, I know how. They said because she's God the mother, she's not a normal woman. But yet, they believe Christ came in the flesh as God and set an example for men. So then if she's a woman in the flesh, she should set an example for women not to be pastoring or leading the church, right? See, this stuff is crazy. So I'm just letting you know how people think, because you might have a friend or a family member that's trapped in the church right now. And if you need to know how to get them out, you're going to have to come with book, chapter, and verse. Because if you speak against this church without showing them in the Bible how it's wrong, they're just going to think you working for the devil, that you're just trying to get them out of the real church, right? And if anybody's struggling with this cult right now, with this mind control group, put it in the comments. Contact me. I'll be glad to help. Because I know how to go straight to the books, chapters, or verses that literally show that what they're teaching is false. And you can look at their history and see that they lied to you about the end of the world. All right. Allegations leaders directed members to get abortions. They did. I know firsthand that they told people, right? Because people there, it's a whole lot of married couples there that have no children, all right? And I know all these people are not using condoms and birth control 100% perfectly. None of these people have children. The only ones that have children are the ones that had them when they came, or somebody got pregnant by accident. Facts, because the people told me. They either had children before they got there, or if they didn't have children as a married couple, they had a child by accident. So these people are not having children because they think the end of the world is so close. They got to refrain from getting pregnant or have an abortion, because you don't need to focus on that. You need to focus only on the gospel work, because it's the end of the world. But now it's 2023. It's 11 years past 2012. And I bet you the new and current members are still believing that damn lie. Let's see here. Colin and the other former members alleged that church leaders would direct congregants to get abortions. Yes, they did. Facts. Telling women it was, quote, pointless and selfish, end quote, to bring a child into a world so close to the brink of annihilation. They taught that, but they'll never admit it openly. The former members all claimed that tithes of 10 to 15% of their salaries were mandatory. That's true, because you had to pay at least 10%, then you had to give a regular offering, then you had to give a men's group offering or a women's group offering, depending on whether you were a man or a woman. Then you had to give a cooking group offering to help provide food on the Sabbath day, and then you took turns cooking that. There were special offerings to send people on mission trips to different cities and states to set up house churches and go door to door preaching. So that would easily, it's definitely 10%, but most likely it's like 15, shoot, I would say 15 to 20%, because your labor counts, right? You're doing free labor and energy and effort, so that's taking up your time. So in truth, you probably paying about 20%, right? And shoot, for some people, it could be more than that. So 10 to 15% easy. And it says, and that the church even encouraged members to donate possessions that were later sold at church fundraising events. I know some people did donate stuff. I don't recall if it was sold at a church fundraising event, unless they talking about, let me think, had a backpack event or something like that anyway. But yeah, people did donate stuff though. They also alleged that recruitment efforts targeted young Caucasians who appeared wealthy. That's true. If you appear wealthy or affluent, they want to save you. If you're poor, they say you can't come. They won't tell you that openly either. But if you're poor, they know they can't get that money from you. And that's why they only help certain specific so-called Negroes and African Americans, because we got to look like we're doing well too. They don't come to the hood and preach. They gonna preach in the suburbs, and they might barely kind of sort of come a little close to the hood every now and then, but they make sure to go to the nice suburbs. You understand? So that's why I really hate that they're taking tithes and offerings from quote unquote black people, because they do not love you, right? They don't love us. Need to recognize you an Israelite, or at least a more. You understand? so you can have your own history and heritage and learn from your own people who actually care about you. But yeah, they take advantage of Caucasians who appear wealthy, and they'll take advantage of Negroes as well, right? So do not get it twisted. Whoever they can get some money from, they will get it. And that members were dispatched multiple times a week to malls, here you go, and colleges. See? Because I've been knowing about this article for years, but I hadn't looked at it like, I think the last time I looked at this article might have been, I don't know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So I didn't remember all this article, but just like I told you, they hang out at the malls and colleges and try to blend into the crowd so they can secretly recruit students and young people. That is a fact. Instead of openly setting up a booth or putting up a sign and saying, hey, we're here teaching the Bible. This is the name of our church. This is what we believe. If anybody would like to come, please come study and be baptized. They don't do that. They try to manipulate you and make you think they're just a regular person who wants you to study the Bible and that's it. No, they want to study and then they want to mind control you, brainwash you. Okay, according to the former members, the church also emphasized recruiting recently returned Army veterans who might be more psychologically vulnerable. Well, I do know a Caucasian brother who was in the Army actually. He was in between deployments. So that could very well be true as well. They did have a lot of military people. There was one Caucasian brother that was a member, and there was a quote unquote, look, African American brother who was from the military, both he and his wife. So yeah, that sounds about right. Now that I look back, there were a lot of military people in there. Wow. That is so diabolical. Because people who've been in the military and have seen certain things on the battlefield can have psychological issues and need to have a sense of belonging when they come back and try to re-enter into civilian life. Wow. Some of the ex-members say they were encouraged to drop out of college. That's true. They might not specifically state, hey, you need to drop out of college, but they'll say, don't you think it's a better use of your time to do the gospel work, brother? Sister, don't you think it's better time? Look, these Koreans talking with a damn Korean accent to guilt trip people over here in the United States who just want to get an education. Brother, don't you think it is better use of our time to do the gospel work? Father coming so soon. The end of the world is so near, right? So they get people to drop out of even medical school. That's a damn shame. I'm sorry. Quit their jobs. Yes, some people, they quit their jobs because they thought the world was going to end. And ignored their families so they'd have more time to recruit. Facts. They claim church congregants, even children and infants, were also expected to fast for days. I'm not as familiar with that. I know the children fasted. I don't know if they did it for multiple days or not though, right? Yeah. I don't have to add anything I don't know. Like if I don't know it firsthand, I'm not going to tell you. But so that could have happened. But I'm just going to tell you, if you're a parent, you got to look out for your child. I don't give a damn what religion you in. Don't let your child starve for a religious reason talking about that's holy. Because your ass will end up in prison. All right? Don't let these churches, I'm talking about any of them, Christian or non-Christian, Muslim, damn it, I don't care if it's an Israelite group or church either. I don't give a damn what it is. If your child needs to eat and you know they need to eat, you better feed them. And don't think God is going to hold you or them guilty for you feeding your child. Because if your blood glucose drops too low, you will go into a coma or a diabetic coma and then you will die. So something like that would have never affected me anyway. Damn it. I guarantee you if I have a child who I see is so hungry, they getting weak, they gonna eat. I don't give a damn what day you say it is. Because it's stupid to let your child starve to death. Anyway, the former congregants that people spoke with alleged the World Mission Society Church of God also worked to deliberately dissolve marriages between devoted members and their unconvinced partners. Yeah, that's true as well. especially if they arrange a marriage between you and one of their pretty Korean women. Yeah, they would have their cute, pretty, soft, sweet-talking Korean women marrying mostly Caucasian men, but sometimes they'll marry a mixed man, meaning his mother is white and his father is black. They'll marry him off too. Or a few light-skinned Negroes, they'll hook them up with the Korean women, but mostly it was white men. But it don't matter if he's white, black, or mixed. As soon as he finds out this church is a mind control cult and he stops going to the worship services, oh, let's say if he quits going to church on the Sabbath day, she ready to divorce him Sunday, but court doesn't open till Monday, so she'll have to wait till Monday. I'm not even joking. There's one brother I talked to. He stopped going to the church. Say if he stops going to the church today, she moved out the house the next day, like tomorrow, and was working on separating from him and then getting divorced. But the Bible says God hates divorce. God hateth divorce. He hates it. You're not just supposed to divorce somebody for any old reason. So I wonder why their God in the flesh is so okay with them telling people to get divorced and then remarry somebody else just like that. They don't even try to fix their marriage. It's crazy. Let's see here. So that's also true. They did work to deliberately dissolve marriages between devoted members and their unconvinced partners in order to arrange weddings between, look at that, American and South Korean church members. Because once somebody from Korea marries an American citizen, then they can live over here and have full citizenship. You see? So when their green cards getting ready to run out, or their visas or whatever they may have, before that happens, they'll marry off their women to the men over here. I don't really recall any Korean men marrying American women over here. I don't really, that's interesting. They usually marrying off their women over here to us. Interesting. It even happened to Colin, she says. Her ex-husband remains a member of the church. Well, there you go. The church's statement to people denied members have ever been encouraged to seek abortions. That's a lie. They have been told to get an abortion. Yes, they have. Or that recruitment efforts were geared towards specific races or vulnerable veterans. Well, they'll recruit all races because they want your money. But they love to get wealthy looking Caucasians. And then after that, they'll get some Negroes as long as they don't look like they're from the hood. I might not have time to show you in this video because this is already getting lengthy, right? But there is literally a website that shows proof that this church, when they went to an event or preaching event or something like that, they said, make sure you don't pick ghetto people that look ghetto. Now, in the United States of America, who are they talking about when they say don't pick or choose people who look ghetto? They talking about black people. So that's called a racist statement. So that's why you hear me speak so bluntly now about helping my own people, the Israelites and the Moors, who think they African Americans and blacks, right? Black is an adjective. It's a color, not a damn ethnicity or nationality. So they did do that. So they do have some racist tendencies, but don't get it twisted. They will bring you in the church whether you quote unquote black or white, as long as they can get your green money. It also denied exerting control over members' lives or their sleeping habits. That's a lie. You had a sister whose hair was falling out and she was getting sick because she was sleep deprived. A young African American sister in like her mid-20s would have to tell her to go home and get some sleep because the church deacons and missionaries would not. So that's a damn lie. You had people sleep deprived on a regular basis. Additionally, the church claims it has never offered a timeline for the world's demise. That's a lie. They told us it could not go past the year 2012. But after 2012 and 13 and 14 and 15 and so on, Around mid to late 2013, they started re-brainwashing us with another lie to say, oh, Father never taught about the time. We never said to focus on the time, just to endure to the end, basically, because they're liars. So they did teach about the end of the world, and when their prophecy failed after 2012, because we're still here now, they tried to retrain their brainwashed, zombified members, which at the time included myself, that they never taught us what we know they did teach us. And that is a damn shame, but that's what they did. It would be like me slapping you on your left cheek and then backhand slapping you on your right cheek, right? And then an hour later, I tell you, instead of apologizing for slapping you like that, I teach you that I didn't slap you. You remember when I slapped you on your left cheek and then your right? I didn't really slap you, brother. That was a love tap. Or you were dreaming. You just thought I slapped you. Cult scholar. Church thrives on on financial. They should have put the first. Thrives on the financial exploitation of its members. Wow, Rick Ross. That's funny. Sound like the rapper or something. Who has been cited internationally for his work on destructive cults, says he has met several former members of the World Mission Society Church of God who claim church leaders urged pregnant women to abort their babies. That's because they did. But isn't sure he can believe such claims. Well, you ain't got to believe it. They didn't tell every woman to have an abortion, but I know some of them were urged or told that abortion might be a good idea. Let's put it that way. So with that being said, I think I'm going to end this video right here. I'll probably be coming with some more info in another video or videos later. So you've been warned, and beware. And if you need help getting your family member or loved one or friend out of this cult or any other cult like it for that matter, because they're all similar. Yeah, that's a picture of the church in New Jersey right there, I believe. Yeah, but you can do it with the Bible, right? But if you just tell them it's a cult and that it's evil or wrong, that's not going to work. They're just going to say, oh, you just don't believe in Heavenly Mother, or you just don't believe in the truth. You got to show them the book, chapter, and verse where they cannot deny that they've been lied to. And let them wrestle with that for a while. Then God's word itself will show them. All right, so with that, I hope this has been helpful. Have a good day.